Right now, somewhere on this planet, a wild wolf is standing within smelling distance of a domestic dog wearing a fleece jacket. The wolf hasn't eaten today. The dog has eaten twice and is about to get a third snack. They are biologically the exact same species. One of them thinks it might die tonight. The other one thinks the worst part of its day was getting its nails clipped. So here's the actual question. Do they know that? Do they look at each other and understand the gap between them? Stick around, because the answer isn't what you think. Dogs and wolves are the easy part. Foxes and elephants are where this whole thing stops making sense. So first, let's deal with the obvious case. Dogs and wolves. Same species, technically. Dogs are wolves that signed a 10,000-year contract with humans and never read the fine print. Genetically, a Chihuahua and a wolf are close enough that the differences are basically cosmetic, in the same way a Honda Civic and a tank are both technically vehicles. But here's where it gets interesting. Wolves can absolutely recognize dogs as related. Studies on wolf-dog interactions show wolves respond to dog vocalizations, scent markers, and body language with recognition rather than the confused caution they show towards, say, a fox. The wolf's brain goes, "That's one of us," just smaller and weirdly relaxed about everything. What wolves do not seem to grasp is the lifestyle gap. A wild wolf pack defends territory constantly, hunts daily, loses pack members to disease and conflict regularly, and operates on a margin of survival that would stress out a Navy SEAL. A pug, by comparison, has a scheduled snack time and a person whose entire job is opening doors for it. There's no evidence any wolf has ever looked at this arrangement and felt anything about it. No jealousy, no confusion about why that one gets a sweater. The wolf just doesn't have the category for domesticated cousin living a leisure lifestyle. It only has the category smells like one of us and doesn't smell like one of us. Which honestly might be the more peaceful way to live. Imagine knowing exactly two things about every creature you meet and never once losing sleep over the third, fourth, or fifth thing. The wolf has achieved a level of emotional simplicity most humans pay a therapist to get back to. There's actually documented evidence of wild wolves and domestic dogs interbreeding in regions where their territories overlap, particularly in parts of Italy and Eastern Europe. The wolf doesn't approach this cautiously the way it would approach an unfamiliar species. It treats the dog as exactly what it biologically is, one of its own. No hesitation, no identity crisis on either side. Now here's where the question gets genuinely strange, because dogs and wolves are close enough that this almost makes sense. What happens with animals that are nowhere near as related, behaviorally speaking? Cats. House cats descend from African wildcats, and the genetic distance between a Maine Coon and a wild African wildcat is much smaller than most people assume. Domestication only really started around 9,000 years ago, recent enough that a house cat is, biologically speaking, basically a wildcat that found a really good apartment. And the wildcats? Believe me, they know it.
Nice.
There are documented cases of feral cat colonies interbreeding with wildcat populations on multiple continents, including hybridization concerns with Scottish wildcats and African wildcats. Serious enough that conservationists actively worry about it. The wild population doesn't reject the domestic one as some foreign category of animal. It treats it as a perfectly viable mate. Which means, somewhere out there, a wildcat is currently raising kittens that are part apex predator of the savannah and part knocked a glass off the counter at 3 a.m. for no reason. Nature does not see the lifestyle difference. Nature only sees compatible. This actually creates a real conservation headache. Researchers studying Scottish wildcats, one of Britain's most endangered mammals, have found that hybridization with domestic and feral cats is one of the biggest threats to keeping the wild bloodline distinct at all. The wildcats are not, on any level, holding out for a purer match. They are entirely fine breeding with something that spends its evenings asleep on a heated windowsill. From the wildcat's perspective, the windowsill detail simply never comes up. And if you've made it this far, I would like to say something quickly. I'm trying to gain 100 subscribers extra before summer ends, which sounds small until you realize it's currently moving at the pace of a sloth deciding whether to cross a road.
Oh, please feed me. I'm very, very hungry.
So please don't forget to subscribe if you like the video. Okay, foxes. Foxes are not domesticated at all. A pet fox is not a thing that broadly exists the way a pet dog does, no matter how many internet videos suggest otherwise. But there was an experiment. The Soviet Union ran something called the Belyaev fox experiment, selectively breeding red foxes purely for tameness across generations. Within a few decades, researchers had foxes that wagged their tails, sought human affection, and behaved almost identically to dogs, without anyone trying to breed for those traits directly. Tameness came bundled with floppy ears, shorter snouts, and patchy coats, as if friendliness and physical changes were wired together the whole time. But here's the unsettling part. Wild foxes encountering these tame foxes show clear behavioral differences in how they react to them. Increased curiosity, decreased aggression, and sometimes confusion. The wild fox brain appears to register that something is off, not predator, not quite fox-shaped threat, just different. Some researchers studying the project describe wild foxes treating tame foxes the way you might treat a coworker who suddenly started talking in a different accent. Technically the same, but vaguely concerning, and definitely worth a second, third, or even fourth look. So somewhere in there, wild foxes are doing something. Maybe not full recognition or understanding domestication as a concept, but noticing that something is wrong with this particular fox, even if they can't articulate what. What's strange is that the experiment also changed how the foxes related to each other. Tame foxes within the program started displaying behaviors almost never seen in wild fox populations, including a kind of social tolerance and reduced territorial aggression that let them be housed in groups without constant fighting. A trait that took maybe 60 years to appear through selective breeding fundamentally rewired how an entire animal related to its own kind. Wild foxes never developed it. They didn't need to. Nobody was selecting them for it. And then there's the case that breaks the entire question apart. Elephants. Asian elephants have worked alongside humans for roughly 4,000 years, used in logging, transport, and ceremony across South and Southeast Asia. But here's the detail almost nobody knows. There has never been a successful, sustained captive breeding program for working elephants. Nearly every domesticated working elephant was born wild and captured. Which means there is no domesticated elephant lineage. No genetically distinct pet elephant, the way there's a genetically distinct dog. Every elephant working in a logging camp in Myanmar is biologically identical to every wild elephant in the forest next to it. Same species, same instincts, same memory capacity, same lifespan. The only difference is which side of a very recent, very temporary human relationship it happens to be standing on. Which means the actual answer to our question, for elephants specifically, might be, there is no difference for them to know about. The wild elephant and the working elephant are the same animal having two different weeks. And there's something almost poetic about how elephants treat each other across that divide. Documented cases exist of formerly captive elephants released back into protected forests, successfully reintegrating into wild herds, recognized and accepted without the kind of prolonged suspicion you might expect after years of separation. The herd doesn't run a background check. It just absorbs the elephant back in, as if 4,000 years of human history was a rounding error in an animal that can live past 60. So where does that leave us? Dogs and wolves recognize each other as related, but show no evidence of grasping the lifestyle gap between them. Wild cats don't reject domestic cats as different at all. They just mate with them, treating 9,000 years of human furniture as a complete non-issue. Wild foxes seem to notice something is off about their tame cousins without understanding what domestication even is. And wild elephants and working elephants aren't even two categories. They're the same animal, separated by nothing more than where a rope happened to be one day in 1987. Across every single example, the pattern holds. Animals don't seem to carry a concept anywhere close to domesticated versus wild. They don't look at a sweater-wearing dog and feel anything about the unfairness of the universe. They recognize scent, sound, and behavior. That's it. The entire framework of pet and wild is something we invented, sitting on top of animals who never asked for the categories and have no idea they've been sorted into them. Your dog has genuinely no idea it won some kind of cosmic lottery. It just knows the food bowl shows up at roughly the same time every day, which, honestly, might be a more emotionally stable way to exist than knowing literally anything else on this list. So remember, nature's weird, domestication is weirder, and somewhere right now, a wolf is looking at your dog in tiny pajamas and just registering family. Embarrassing family, but still family. Well, I guess that's the whole point.